Well, here we are again,
Oh, okay.
on a Thursday afternoon. One of the great things about today is it's 6:15 almost, and the sun is still out.
Yes, it is.
And all of us, almost all of us, are in short sleeves. Some are in shorts. I do have some bad news. The weather is going to change, and it's predicted to be about 30 degrees in the next, coming soon, with the possibility of snow. But it should melt by the time it touches the ground. And then we're back in the 80s the following week.
I will give
That's
you
my
permission to
forecast.
beat him for that.
So, again, welcome to Connecticut Book Festival's Writer Sneak Peeks. Tonight, instead of me being up here, Andrea is going to run the show. As you know, Andrea and I both run Connecticut Book Festivals. You know the story behind it, most of you do. What you may not know is that in January of this year, we started our own publishing company called Shattered Ceiling Press. Why is it called Shattered Ceiling Press? It's called Shattered Ceiling Press because we're trying to break the ceiling on how much the authors keep in their pockets. And so, through about 8 or 9 months of research and painstakingly talking to printers all up and down the East Coast, we found a printer out of Illinois that even with printing it there and having it shipped here to a warehouse that's now a distributor for us, it's still a third of the price. And if anyone wants to see the quality of the book, Cindy, can you please hold that up? Okay. That is my latest novel that came out 2 weeks ago. Okay. Does anyone want to guess how much that book cost to make? Go ahead.
$3.
That's pretty close, actually.
The man is good.
Here on the East Coast, that book was $12 to $14. With shipping from Illinois, $3.88.
Wow.
Okay, now I ordered 1,000 of them to the warehouse. The reason I did that was the change in price from 500 to 1,000 gave me what amounted to about 200 books free, okay, with the shipping and everything. In order to order from Shattered Ceiling Press, there is a minimum of 100 books, okay? I would tell you not to order 100, at least go to 200, okay? Because the price change gets better as you go higher. If we were to quote a book for you, some of you have gotten quotes from us. Quotes are free. We always quote 100, 200, 300, 500, 1,000. So you can see the differences. In addition to having the price to make the book, we also have the shipping costs quoted. Okay, so you know exactly what you're going to be paying. The quality of the book was better than I thought it was going to be. I was a little worried. One thing you should know about Andrea and myself, whenever we come up with something new, we are the guinea pigs for that first, okay? We test it on ourselves. And if it works, we'll go with it. If it doesn't, we move on. So if those of you who are here and you're getting close to publishing and you want to get a quote, and we welcome the opportunity to quote it for you and then have you go someplace else and get it quoted and see the difference. I prefer you do that, okay? Not just because we're standing up here and we're telling you. I want you to go and get a quote. There's a couple of people in this room who were surprised because they got quotes first from somebody else and came back and our quote was more than a third less. Is that correct? More than a third less. I'm not sure that that's correct, but anyway.
That's close enough.
But enough about that. I want to welcome all of you tonight. We have some new people, and so you're along for the ride.
Yes,
Andrea,
they are.
you're on.
Thank you very much. Sorry, guys, the arthritis is not here tonight. I know I do not.
So the camera can get you.
The camera can do it now. Yep. Camera has to advance. All right, we have our first person coming up, which is Vance Alexander. We'll let you come up to the podium.
Luca is very correct about quotes from other people. I have a quote from a publisher. He was going to publish my book for $12,000. Plus, he was going to take 50% of the sales. So,
Did you say 50?
55.
50.
Yes, so I wasn't gonna make a damn thing. So fortunately, I was able to be in contact with Louis and Adrian and
Oh, that's okay. I answered anything, don't worry about it.
I'm sorry, Vance.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay, but I'm very pleased with what I have going so far. I have most of my book ready to go to a woman who's going to format it and take it from there. So it might be out by mid-May.
Good.
Good. So it's always tough being the first one. But, okay. Last year, I gave my writing group an assignment, and it was about a mirror, a strange mirror, looking into it. What did you see? What did you feel? What did you know about it? So I wrote my portion of it, which is called Mirror, Mirror. The year was 1974. The Grand Orpheum Theater in Manhattan was packed to the rafters. Crystal chandeliers shimmered overhead, casting golden light on the audience below. Men in tuxedos, women in silk gowns, coiffed hair, and the scent of Chanel No. 5, mingling with cigar smoke and nervous anticipation. It was opening night of Mirror, Mirror, a new avant-garde production whispered about in artistic circles for months. Tickets had sold out in hours. No one knew what to expect, only that the director, enigmatic and reclusive Victor Leclerc, had promised a revelation of the human soul. The curtain rose slowly, revealing a minimalist set, a single chair, a mirror, a large ornate grandfather's clock ticked ominously. A hush fell over the crowd. Then the stage left, from the stage left, a figure in sight. She was a young woman, barefoot, wearing a simple white dress which hung from her emaciated frame. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow, wide, unblinking. She walked to the mirror and stared into it for a long moment. The clock ticked. The audience leaned forward. She began to speak, but it wasn't a monologue. It was a confession. She spoke of a childhood spent in silence, starved, beaten, locked in an attic by parents who feared her. She had described to them visions of faces in the walls, voices in the dark, a man with no eyes who whispered secrets in her sleep. Her voice was calm, almost detached, as she recounted many horrors that made the audience shift uncomfortably in their seats. Then the lights flickered. The mirror began to ripple. The water, like water disturbed by wind. The woman stepped into it. Gasps echoed through the theater. From the other side of the mirror, a second figure emerged, identical to the first, but twisted. Her dress was stained, her eyes black. Her mouth stretched into a grin too wide for her face. She moved like a marionette, jerky, unnatural. The twisted double began to speak, but her voice was layered. Multiple tones, male and female, young and old, all speaking at once. The words were nonsense, yet somehow familiar. A few audience members clutched their heads, as if the sound itself was penetrating their brain. The original woman returned from the mirror and collapsed on the floor. Just then, the clock struck midnight. The stage went dark. When the lights returned, the set had changed. The chair was overturned. The mirror was shattered. The woman was gone. In her place stood a man, tall, gaunt, dressed in a black suit with a red carnation. His eyes were hollow. He raised a hand and pointed to the audience. "You," he said, "you let it in. The audience froze. You opened the door, he continued, voice raising. You fed it with your curiosity. You dressed in your finest. You came here to see the spectacle, and now it sees you. The light dimmed again. A low hum filled the theater, vibrating through the seats. The chandelier swayed. The walls seemed to breathe. Then from the wings, dozens of figures emerged. Actors, perhaps, but their faces were wrong. Too smooth, too symmetrical. They moved in perfect unison, walking down the aisle, staring into eyes of the audience. One woman screamed. A man stood, trembling, and tried to leave, but the doors were locked. A demonic laugh was issued from the man in the black suit on the stage. You paid for truth, and truth is not kind. The figures reached the front row. One leaned down and whispered into a woman's ear. She fainted. Another placed a hand on a man's shoulder. He began to sob. The audience was paralyzed. Jaws dropped, mouths open, eyes wide with terror and awe. Then just as suddenly, the figures retreated. The man on the stage bowed deeply. The curtain fell. Silence. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the lights came up. Ushers unlocked the door. The chandelier stopped swaying. The audience stumbled out into the night, dazed, shaken, and transformed. Some said it was the greatest performance they had ever seen. Others never spoke of it again. Victor Leclerc disappeared the next day. Mirror, Mirror was never performed again. But those who were there, who saw behind the mirror, would never forget. And sometimes, late at night, they would hear the ticking of the clock and wonder if they had truly left the theater at all.
So, do we have anybody who would like to start with a critique on this one?
Yes, sir.
I'll go, Vance. I think this is some of the best pacing you have ever had in any of your stories.
Speak up, listen.
I think this is the best, some of the best
Thank you.
pacing you've ever read to us from your stories. I like, it was very clear, you could see what was going on.
Very visual.
Very visual, yes. I liked it quite a bit. I think that you're on the right track here with this one, and moving forward. I like it a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I want to say something. I only heard the last part, and it was so good that I really want to now read the rest.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Oh, I said I only heard the last part,
Oh,
but it was so good that I want to read the beginning.
okay.
We were
We had to talk about
business.
something, yeah.
Okay. Yes, Becky.
I think in a really good way, it was like Ray Bradbury. I mean, it was like
Mhm.
something wicked this way comes, with that kind of
Yes, but we don't
horror,
know what's
but,
coming.
Yeah.
instead of the merry-go-round and the, the carnival coming to town, it was this performance. But, a couple of the things were wonderful. Actors perhaps, and just introducing that little bit of uncertainty, nonsense, but somehow familiar. Like those things that cannot go together, but you put them together, and I thought it was great. I loved it.
Young lady.
Yes, hi. I was going to say, it grips the audience attention from you started reading. I like the mirror, mirror part, and you said something, I believe, about sitting at the edge of the seat, and I'm like, I'm already sitting at the edge of my seat. Yeah, it was very nice. I enjoyed it, yes. The storyline, it flowed very nicely.
Okay. Yes.
So, what I like most about it is that, and maybe that's just me, but normally when I'm reading, and you did a great job like capturing me right at the beginning, normally my mind races ahead and remembers every plot I've ever read. Right? It's a bad habit for reading.
Okay.
But I couldn't do that with what you wrote. It sounded very original to me. Right? And
Nice compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it just like, wow, I wanted to see where you went with it. I couldn't get ahead of you, which I think is a real gift when you're writing.
And so where is this going?
Yeah.
So, okay, well,
Anyone else have a comment?
I just want to say one more thing. I happen to agree with Betty. It made me feel like, I don't want to look around the corner, but yet I want to look around the corner.
yes, it's one of those things that it's like an accident. You see it, but you can't look away. You have to know what happened, what's going on, that sort of thing.
Is Fran here?
Fran will be late, so.
Are we late? Okay. John is here? John, come on up.
Hello, yes. I was the first to notice that spaghetti had come up in the bathtub. It was a big gooey mess. No sauce or anything, just long strands of cream-colored pasta all around the drain. Mom, there's spaghetti in the bathtub, I shouted out in a voice loud enough to broadcast to everyone. On purpose, of course. Sound traveled easily around the tract house. What? My mother yelled out from the kitchen on the other side of the wall from the bathroom, where I had made my discovery. Spaghetti in the bathtub. Come and see. I broadcast again. I'll be right there. Sure enough, spaghetti in the bathtub. The circumstances were trying. Just another thing to worry about after having just returned all stressed out that evening from an aborted family vacation. We had left the day before for the Poconos with another family we were friends with. After dinner, a fight broke out, so noisy you could hear it all over the campground. My grandmother from Germany, my mom's mom, who had been staying with us for over a year, had made a stink. All of us kids were playing wiffle ball except my baby brother, Bobby. He said he didn't want to. My grandmother interpreted this as us kids excluding him. She had taken my younger brother, Bobby, under her wing, in reaction to the vibes that I was my mom's favorite and my sister Carol, my other grandmother's. Bobby needed a protector. My grandmother's hissy fit was that protection. That evening, my parents decided the vacation couldn't be salvaged and called it off. We drove home the next day, embittered. Our plans meshed, or maybe were made to mesh, with Aunt Caroline's plan to drive to California. She was my dad's sister, and my dad promised her that she could stay at our house the last night before she left because she had already sold her place and the movers had come and taken her stuff away. When her mom died the year before, she decided to move back to California. Her love for California dated back to 1948 when, right after graduating in nursing from Jersey State College, she had moved to Los Angeles and found a job. Before the big move, she needed a place to stay for the night. Sure, why not? She fessed up to making spaghetti the night before and throwing away the leftovers by stuffing them down the garbage disposal. Another strike against Aunt Caroline, I thought. Every time a baby is born, the relatives crowd around and look at the latest pictures and try to divine who the newborn looks like most. We're told it's in the genes. The new creature will share some of its progenitor's physical features and those of more distant relatives and ancestors maybe too. Oh, doesn't she look just like Oma Margaret with a little of Uncle John mixed in? Or, wow, his eyes are just like his dad's. Gonna be handsome, huh? Or her face is just as round and puffy as Aunt Caroline's, and that big nose too. Poor thing. As the baby grows into a child, its personality is dissected for clues about its future prospects. I bet she'll be smart since her father is a really good doctor. Or, he's so quiet, you don't think this is like the first signs he's autistic. Or, look, she's reacting just like Aunt Caroline would, speaking up with no self-touch, no manners. That's not a good sign. All these attempts at likening obscure more than they explain. In our family, the scuttlebutt was that Aunt Caroline was someone you didn't want to be compared to. She never married or had children, and this was the 1950s. She refused to ever babysit us kids. There was talk that she once had a boyfriend whose father turned off his hearing aid every time she came over. She was a straight talker, preferring painful frankness to unctuous politesse. Her voice carried. Her slightly nasal pronunciation carried a whiff of the Bronx and Beacon even years after she had left. Her hair and eyes were brown, her buttocks and thighs and breasts were so generous that her 5'2" stature served only to exaggerate her ungainly proportions. She was a registered nurse and later got an MBA. Her clothes betrayed no sense of style. She had drifted off to California when she was young. Her heart was in California, but she came back to Delaware out of a sense of duty when her father died and her mother was left with no choice but to take a job as a seamstress. How our family felt, or how we told ourselves to feel about Aunt Caroline, even rubbed off on California. It must be a place where a certain kind of people go, people suspected of not being presentable in polite company, or who don't fit your ideal family life, or who do things you think are nuts, or who you don't like so much. Good riddance. Family lore is a little like genes. It reproduces images, stories, fables, half-truths. They stick, and they're overinterpreted. And so, when the spaghetti came up in the bathtub, it was no surprise the first thing to pop into my head was another strike against Aunt Caroline. The evidence was mounting. The next day, Aunt Caroline climbed into her brand new top-of-the-line white Chevrolet Caprice. She had bought it just for this trip. Who would want to drive cross-country in the compact Chevy Nova she used to drive? No one witnessed her departure. She left early in the morning to lay down some miles the first day. Nobody got up to wave her goodbye, or to share breakfast and a cup of coffee with her. That pretty much summed up our attachment to her. Of course, we had the excuse that the emotional turmoil of the night before had exhausted us. But still, despite all the bad press she got, Aunt Caroline's love for California intrigued me. No, it lit a flame to get away from a stultifying East Coast provincialism I sensed might suffocate me. After high school, when I was supposed to go away to college as befit my parents' expectations, I had my chance, but I didn't take it. If I was going to leave home, I might as well go not just away, but far away. But I was too afraid, because of my parents' reaction, if I were to suggest applying and going to school in California. So I erased it from my radar screen. I applied to 4 colleges, 3 of which were well within 2 miles of the Atlantic coast. The 4th was in Ohio. I tiptoed around my dream of getting away. I would live it vicariously. When I went to college in Massachusetts, I asked for a roommate from west of the Mississippi. I was assigned a guy from Denver. When I was in summer language school in Vermont, I lucked out and ended up rooming with a guy from Minneapolis. When I was in grad school in New Jersey, I shared a house with 5 other students. One happened to be from Minnesota and invited me to share the driving from the East Coast to Minneapolis for Thanksgiving. That was the first time I made it west of the Mississippi, albeit just barely. I moved to California in 1983. I had my own money now. I had worked for 4 years after college and saved enough money that I didn't have to check in with Mom and Dad about an expedition they might think was nuts. My destination was grad school in architecture at Berkeley. It had been 15 years since the spaghetti incident. The first Thanksgiving I was out there, I drove to San Diego to visit Aunt Caroline. Did I have a good reason? I still hadn't shaken off the scuttlebutt about her, but I figured that nice boys visit their relatives and go through the motions of showing interest. I had a bit of experience too. When driving out to California with my brother, we stopped in Overland Park, Kansas, and stayed a night with one of my dad's many first cousins. I had no cousins of my own, so the sheer happenstance of being related to this stranger by blood gave me a momentary thrill. In genealogical terms, he was my first cousin once removed. Our common ancestors were my paternal great-grandparents. I knew this somewhat distant relative by name only. I had never met him. His name was Edwin. I knew he was born in 1942, the only child of one of my dad's 3 aunts, the one who was born in 1914, by her first marriage to a man who was killed in the Second World War. I loved the encounter with him, his wife, and 2 teenage girls. We had little in common, just happened to be related by blood, so I figured they wouldn't turn us away. Emotions did not run high. How could they? We were just getting acquainted. We just talked and talked, a strength of mine. I had dinner, and they sent us off after breakfast the next morning. The encounter in Kansas bucked me up for the trip to San Diego to visit a relative who was not distant at all. I could handle this. We talked and talked. I stayed for 2 nights. Caroline made me dinners and breakfasts. We went out for lunch. She told me the story of that morning when she left and nobody got up to say goodbye. Honestly, I had no recollection of that morning.
That's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have about another minute. You tell me.
Okay, take another minute. Do it quick.
Okay. Honestly, I had no recollection of that morning, nor any feeling of contrition for not having made the effort to get up early. I couldn't have asked her to tell it. She wanted to. You could feel the pain in her voice. Her recounting awakened me to an emotional side I'd numbed out my entire life until then. While listening, I decided all this bad stuff about Aunt Caroline was just bunk. Never again am I going to judge somebody by what others tell me. I'm going to be like her, comfortable in my own skin, without worrying about the scuttlebutt. On that visit, I stopped being just a nice boy.
Very, very nice.
Autobiographical.
I love the way you said that. Do we have any comments for John, please?
Yes, let's hear it.
Yeah, that was, in like one word, really, unpredictable. When you came out with the spaghetti thing, it's like, okay, where is he going with this?
Right.
How can you tie the spaghetti in the bathtub? And then when I talk about your aunt Caroline,
Right.
and she was someone, I believe that it was like, she was someone who you didn't want to be like or something?
Yeah, everybody in the family was, oh, it's Aunt Caroline again.
Yeah.
She's being so noisy, or she's so straight, or what does she think now? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the overall feeling was, yeah,
Yeah, but,
not good.
I think we all have one of those in our
yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too, not only did you grip me with the beginning of it, with the introduction of this spaghetti in the bathtub,
Yeah.
but with each turn of the story, you kept the interest. Because we don't know where you're going. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? But it was very intriguing, very interesting.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Okay, so I endorse what my husband said, that was, it's to the point. But it was a very interesting story. And I said to myself, I feel like I'm a part of,
Yeah.
like I know your family, like I'm a part of, like I'm a part of the family, Yes. And Aunt Caroline is my favorite, just so you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I love Aunt Caroline. Yes. So it has a touch of humor, I like it. Very intriguing and very
Yeah, it was.
interesting.
It was good.
Dramatic and descriptive, all of those things.
Yes.
Yes.
I showed up a little late, but from what I did hear, it sounds like your story is very gripping. It sounds like it
Yes.
talks a lot about family, like him traveling all over the place, and how his Aunt Carla, she made a really big impact on this guy, and he wanted him to be, and he wanted to be better, more like her. And I feel like that's something that everyone really needs. Like if they
Yes.
can't find it in their own parents, that's fine, but they need to find it in somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And if that somebody's a relative, well, it makes it a little easier to contact them.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
So nicely done.
Luca.
I agree with everybody. So that first line is amazing.
Yeah.
It just grabs you, okay, and it won't let go. But what I really thought was very smart was your use of of what I put down obscure and offbeat humor. But you didn't overdo it, which was really good, because it made me want to keep wanting it. Okay, if it was too much, I would have gotten tired of it. I think it was just the right dosage so that the story goes along, and they could talk about her nose. All of a sudden, that was good. I mean, that came out of nowhere, okay? But it was funny, and it just keeps sucking you back in, okay? I do have one comment, and that's about the first third, okay?
Yeah.
You write such good dialogue. It's really intriguing and captivating, okay? And there's a point where there was a long narrative, that there were a couple of spots in there where if you had just thrown in some of that offbeat dialogue that you use, okay, it might have been a little more, I mean, because you did it throughout all the rest except for one section where it seemed a little long in the tooth on dialogue.
Right.
I mean, on narrative.
I narrated it.
But other than that, I agree with everybody else. It kept me wanting to hear it, and I would just sit here like, okay, what's he gonna say next?
Anyone else have a comment for John? Yes.
Yes. Other than the fact that I know John, and now I've learned a lot more about John. So.
And spaghetti.
And spaghetti. So, it's interesting to me, like, I love the opening line. I felt it was the second or third chapter of a book. And I don't know where you intended it, but I was like, wait, I'm missing something, right? And then when you started, I was like, oh, I get this. This is going to be about, you know, some pre-teenage period of your life. And then it became so much more of your life. So I was lost. Maybe lost in a good way, but I was lost. Like,
Yes.
it was like where I expected the story, where I wanted the story to go, maybe not expected. So I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, what is it like to be whatever age you were at the time with the spaghetti? You know, mom yelling at you, the aunt, the thing. That was the perspective I was enraptured with. And then as the rest of the story unfolded, I was like, yeah, but I want to go back to the kid and the spaghetti.
Interesting.
So anyway, that's just
Very
how I
interesting.
react.
Yeah. This is a major rewrite of this piece. My first writing was much more expository prose and not so much dialogue. But I'm glad that first line.
It's a wonderful first line. Does anyone else have any comments before we go to the next person?
I have the one.
Yes,
Did you eat spaghetti today?
no.
No.
Yeah, I
God, you know,
with
nowadays I
the,
rarely eat it. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
with
not
the
because I'm
brain,
scared
yeah.
of it coming out the bathtub.
Okay, Adrian, my love, you're supposed to be next. However, Robin must leave us. Do you mind if I switch you around?
Thank you.
Robin, come on up. Robin is brand new to us tonight, so let's give her a nice Connecticut Book Festival welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, I appreciate the opportunity.
You're very welcome.
Yes. So I am going to start with a poem that's somewhere in here. Okay. And this one says, it's called Nutty Nutmeg. Nutmeg is my furry friend. He plays indoors from dawn to end. Nutty Nutmeg, full of play. He makes me smile in every way. He looks for rats in every place, but finds no trace, so starts a chase. Blinds, chairs, and beds, please beware. Nutmeg will pounce here and there. If you walk by, watch both your feet. He thinks you're prey, a tasty treat. The vet is not his favorite stop. He hides away at every drop. A pill won't work. No, he's far too sly. He slips away before you try. Deep inside he knows they're kind, with gentle hands and hearts aligned. Next time, I hope he'll take the trip and let them give his claws a clip. So today, he stays at home with me, playing with toys and roaming free. His feline ways bring joy each day, my faithful friend in every way. Nutty Nutmeg, full of play, he makes me smile in every way. Do I continue?
Well,
Do I continue reading?
you can continue or you can ask for comments before.
Comments, please. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was a very cute poem. It obviously seems like it's about your cat.
Yes.
It sounds like he sounds so playful at first. I wasn't sure what he was. I didn't figure it was an animal, but I was guessing it what he was.
Yes, but my feline friend, my nutty nutmeg, and he really acts up when it's time to go to the vet. I gotta give him a
I
sedative.
guess he acts a little nuts.
Yes, that's why he's not. I call him Nut. His name is Nutmeg, really, but I show him for Nut, or you know, yeah, 'cause yeah, he's yes.
So is this poem gonna be illustrated, or is it just a poem that's gonna be in black and white in the book? How are you picturing this?
Okay, so I have a book that's already published,
Oh, you do?
and so
Okay.
I'm trying to get. I have tons of poems, so I'm trying to get Nutmeg, Nutty Nutmeg, along with a few others in another book.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got, because there's a follow-up question to this.
Yes.
So you tell us the cat says cat, only in the end. Okay, I didn't know if it was a cat or a dog, and this is just my personal opinion, but if you leave the feline part out,
Okay.
it's gonna attract more people, because it could go either way, okay, and let them decide what the pet is,
Oh, okay.
okay, because dogs act exactly the same
Yeah.
way. I had to do that, okay?
Yeah.
And it's just my personal opinion, because I thought it was a dog until the end.
Yeah. Okay, so
I
you
did too.
just leave that part out totally, so leave them guessing, so to speak. Leave the reader guessing, so to speak.
Yes, well, because it leaves it up to the reader to interpret it, and they can, it's going to attract more readers to it and connect with it, as opposed to just cat owners or,
Okay.
cat lovers. You know,
Alright.
by not putting the feline in there, it leaves it to interpretation, and more people can connect to it.
Alright.
Just an opinion.
Yeah, thank you. I welcome the opinions and the, steer me in the right direction.
I would love to see this as an illustrated children's book.
Me too.
I know, me too.
Wow.
I would
Yeah.
love to see it. It is
Yes,
so
then you gotta leave the cat in.
charming. Yeah, it's such a charming, rhyming
Yeah.
book. I mean, page after page, just your feet, your toes,
Yeah.
the curtains, beware,
Yeah.
it's like, and you don't necessarily have to have the reveal of what
What it is,
furry
okay.
creature this is. We could just see
Mm.
eyes
very
and
good.
paws.
Yes.
and- But even if it started out as a cat, it would be truly adorable.
Yes.
I've read so many board books to children that are just, this would be just.
Thank you. This is exactly what he does. I was just trying to be very descriptive. Take notes of me, please, sir. I'm talking to my husband, yeah. Okay, so I'm on a timer here, so next one, may I move along to the next
Go
one?
right ahead.
Okay, so this one is called After She Sighed. After she sighed, the room kept breathing. The chair remembered her weight. Nothing else mattered. I wanted a sign, something bright, unmistakable, but all I was given was the rhythm of my own heartbeat. Her piece stayed behind. It rested on the table, like a cup left warm by hands now absent. I carried it home, held carefully, hoping it would last. Hoping it would last through the hours ahead. That night I spoke her name. It answered with silence, like a phone unplugged or a line gone still. If there's a doorway, she has already crossed it. I am learning to stand there listening until my turn comes. Now, do I give you, since I'm new to this, you gotta tell me if I'm doing it the right way. This was inspired by Lee Young Lee's style of writing poems. I'm in a poetry group that meets online every other week, and this was an assignment. I had to write a poem this time.
Very nice.
That was very
Yeah.
nice.
Do we have any comments?
It was beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You can, you've got time for one more if
Okay.
you would like to.
Yes. Twilight release. Gazing out the window at the twilight sky, my thoughts were broken by a child's sharp cry. A balloon ascended, dancing with the breeze, freed unexpectedly as a child did sneeze. It floated higher as moments slipped by, drifting towards heaven like a wayward sigh. The child reached out with tear-filled eyes, while the wind bore it to the fading skies. As it rose beyond the fading light, I felt God's whisper in the coming night. Some things we lose are heaven's to keep. He comforts hearts and counts each tear we weep. I feel like I should be saying amen at the end of this. So yeah.
Amen.
That's it.
Do we have any comments?
Yes.
I liked this one a lot. It really kind of made me reflect, you know, and kind of almost made me want to go inside, which is when somebody makes something that moves me like that, I really think it's done well. So
Thank you, I
It
appreciate
moved
that.
me.
Thank you so much.
I could see that being read at a memorial service.
Oh, yeah?
Mhm.
I really could. I'm presuming that's what the intent was, but I could see.
No, it really
that.
wasn't, but you know, I'm taking that into consideration.
That was
Yeah.
a beautiful message for people that
Thank
have
you.
lost someone.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I brought some cards. And on my cards it says, officiant of weddings and funerals, so yeah. So, yeah, right.
Does anyone else have any comments on this one? You've got 2 minutes left.
2 minutes.
You got a small one that we can do?
Alrighty then. Let's see. So, this one is called The Message, inspired by COVID-19. Beware, COVID is here, a silent killer drawing near. No eye can see its deadly sweep, a plague that stalks while we sleep. Worse than the flu of 1918, it spreads in ways we've never seen. Unmasked, you may fall unseen. It moves in silence, strikes with speed, devouring those who don't take heed. But from its rage you may escape. Stay home, stay safe, for caution's sake. Panic and fear flood every street, as headlines echo grim defeat. The world is shaken, incomplete. Human guinea pigs now stand, volunteering hand in hand, driven by hope or by despair, to fight the virus in the air, seeking a cure or a vaccine to end the reign of COVID-19. Still the path ahead is unseen. You may feel healthy, strong, and bold, but even youth can break its hold. No mask? Then wear a scarf instead. Wash your hands and plan ahead. Cover your face and do not fake. Be safe, make no mistake. One choice could be all it takes. Nurses, doctors, heroes all, answering every desperate call. They work without the gear they need, yet still they serve, still they bleed. Essential workers face the cost. Each shift a gamble, each life not lost. That's the system, broken and tossed. There's no room to bury the dead. Funerals missed, tears left unsaid. Distancing breaks our daily flow. Cancellation wherever we go. Jobs are gone, hopes wearing thin. We wait for checks that trickle in. Loss surrounds outside and within. Stores are open, churches closed, but faith in Christ has only grown. Believers still hold on to hope, while the world slides down a slippery slope. The message is loud, the signs are near. Christ will return, be ready, be clear. He is the peace we long to hear. So young or old, black or white, let's seek the Lord with hearts made right. Repent, be washed, be born anew. His mercy waits for me and you. Pray, believe, and do not fear. God's divine favor is always near. COVID will end, our Savior is here. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Very nice to come visit us.
Thank you.
Anybody have any comments on this one?
Just that it brought it all back.
Yeah, right, I'm sorry, opened in a bad way, because you know, we survived, so we're here. Thank you, Lord.
Now
that's it,
we can get you to your meeting on
Rob-
time?
Robin?
Yeah, I'm gonna be in one of those room over there.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Robin?
And,
The fact that-
Adrian, darling, you're up.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, I
hold on.
think he had
The
a
fact that,
question.
the fact that it brings us back, like she said,
Yeah.
I think the words are very strong. Having had COVID 3 times during that
Oh, wow.
period, okay, I was a little shaky when you started reading
Yes,
it.
yes, like a flashback.
But to me, that's a good feeling, that I could feel that.
Yeah.
So, kudos.
So in this chapter, I'm just trying to decide whether I'm gonna write this memoir or what, so I've just been writing different stories. And so this chapter, I explore another formative experience that deeply influenced my understanding of the world. I aim to show how these early encounters with race began to shape my perspective and leave a lasting impact on my life. So, this is called My First White Friend. The Willingboro, New Jersey of my childhood was a place of subtle contrast. Leafy streets lined with not so fully matured maples and willows that released a faint green scent after a rain shower, housed of predominantly white families. My world at 4 years old was largely defined by the warm embrace of our close-knit Black community before we moved to Willingboro, a place where the air often carried the rich aroma of simmering collard greens and spice of sweet potato pie. Now our streets in Willingboro was a symphony of all white faces, the comforting aroma of mom's familiar Sunday dinners battling with the sometimes sharp, unfamiliar scent of freshly cut suburban lawns, and the lively cadence of our shared laughter. But beyond Willingboro, the world was more complicated. Willingboro, New Jersey, the town that would become the backdrop of my childhood, held a complex and often contradictory place in the history of American suburbia. Developed by Levitt and Sons, the same builders notoriously for the racially exclusive Levittown, Willingboro, like many of its contemporaries, was initially designed with racial exclusion in mind through restrictive covenants and discriminatory practices. For my family, our move to this town, then characterized by its quiet, small single homes and predominantly white families, marked a stark departure from the vibrant Black community that had defined my early childhood. Unbeknownst to my 4-year-old self, our new home carried the legacy of those discriminatory practices, a history that hinted at a more intricate story beyond the familiar warmth and laughter within our walls. My Aunt Margaret was a force of nature, a woman whose spirit burned with the fire of civil rights movement. She was a tireless advocate for justice, marching, organizing, and speaking out against the systemic inequalities that defined our society. It was through her unwavering determination and activism that my family found its way to Willingboro. In the wake, the legal battle won against Levitt, a Black family bravely purchased a home in Willingboro, defying the unspoken rules of the time. My Aunt Margaret, ever vigilant, saw an opportunity. She caught wind of the sale of several houses to other Blacks in the area and encouraged my parents to buy one, knowing that it would be more than just a home. It would be a statement, a challenge to the deeply entrenched prejudices that shaped the community. Moving to Willingboro was a leap of faith, a step into the unknown. This new world wasn't always kind. For some, our very presence felt like a wrong. Even as a child, I felt the weight of that, a heavy cloak I couldn't quite name. I remember one man just a few houses away, his face perpetually etched a scowl, never softened. He made no secret of his disdain. When we kids walked by his house, his eyes followed a cold, lingering hostility that sent icy fingers down my small spine. It's important to say that the man's negativity was not the whole story. Willingboro was also a place where we were welcomed, where many people extended a hand of friendship and acceptance. There were neighbors who smiled, who offered help, who saw us not as a threat, but as fellow members of the community. It was a microcosm of America itself, a place where prejudice and progress coexisted in uneasy tensions. Kindergarten at Millbrook Park Elementary School in Willingboro was a grand introduction to a world beyond our immediate neighborhood. It was a place where differences, previously subtle, began to take on sharper edges. Miss Morgan, my teacher, a woman with the skin color of a rich cup of coffee with milk and a smile that could light up the entire classroom, was my guide through this new terrain. She possessed a subtle strength, a gentle authority that commanded respect without ever raising her voice. And then there was Phyllis Berman. Phyllis was a burst of sunshine in a room full of budding personalities. Her curly brown hair seemed to defy gravity, bouncing with an almost joyous energy. Her eyes, a clear dark brown, held a twinkle, and her laughter was like the tinkling of tiny bells. She was always armed with an extra crayon, a generous spirit that extended beyond mere school supplies. She shared her snacks, her toys, and her infectious enthusiasm with an open-heartedness that transcended any awareness of difference. I was drawn to Phyllis from the moment I saw her. There was an ease in her presence, a lack of pretense that mirrored my own childhood innocence. We quickly became buddies, partners in finger painting, co-conspirators in playground games, and confidants in the hushed whispers of five-year-old secrets. One crisp autumn afternoon, the world tilted on its axis ever so slightly. Phyllis, her face alight with excitement, extended an invitation. "Come to my house to play after school," she exclaimed, her voice barely containing her eagerness. My heart leapt with a joy so pure it was like it might burst from my chest. I had never been to anyone's home who didn't go to our church or was not a relative. It was also to be the first time inside a white person's home. The prospect was both thrilling and unfamiliar. That evening at our dinner table, Mom shared that I was invited to the Bermans for a play date after school. It was a big deal. The next day, the play date arrived and I could barely contain my anticipation. My mother didn't have to remind me that she was not picking me up from school. Mrs. Berman was going to meet us and walk us to Phyllis's after school. Miriam, Phyllis's little sister, met us too. She was a miniature version of her big sister with light blondish brown hair and sparkling blue eyes. Initially, Miriam was shy, peeking out from behind her mother's legs, but she quickly warmed up to the novelty of a new playmate. Mrs. Berman was short, with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. She chatted with us all the way home. The house on Phyllis's street were the same as ours on Midvale Lane. That was the Levitt trademark of a mix of Cape, colonial, or ranch-style homes, perfectly manicured lawns that stretched like emerald carpets. The air itself felt different as we turned away from the school, perhaps just new territory. Or could it be the heightened awareness of my own footsteps on unfamiliar ground? Lunch was waiting for us as soon as we walked in the house. I was surprised how small their family was compared to mine. Her home was filled with a soft golden light, and the air carried the comforting aroma of freshly baked cookies. It was a sensory tapestry that was both new and strangely comforting. The afternoon unfolded in a blur of joyful activity. We built towering castles with colorful blocks, our imagination soaring to fantastical heights. We dressed up in elaborate costumes, transforming ourselves into princesses and superheroes, our laughter echoing through the sunny playroom. Time seemed to stretch and bend, losing all meaning in the boundless expanse of the childhood play. Mr. Berman arrived home. He was small, in stature too, but super nice. Because we were having so much fun, Mrs. Berman arranged for me to stay for dinner if I wanted to. I did. Then came supper time. We gathered around a large wooden table laden with food. Golden brown roasted chicken, fluffy mashed potatoes, and vibrant green beans were arranged in serving dishes. It was a feast, a spread that looked both delicious and abundant. In my home, mealtime was a sacred ritual. We always folded our hands and bowed our heads. And Dad would summon one of us to offer a prayer of gratitude, thanking God for the food and the company. It was a moment of reflection, a pause in the day to acknowledge our blessings. It was a tradition that connected us to our ancestors, to the generations who had come before us, and instilled in us the values of faith and family. As everyone at the Berman's table began to serve themselves, reaching for the dishes with casual ease, I waited. My small hands were clasped tightly in my lap, my head bowed slightly, expecting the familiar words of grace. But the moment passed in silence. There was no folding of hands, no murmured prayer, just the cheerful clatter of silverware and the lively conversation of a family coming together.
Is your book one?
Yeah,
No. We're gonna save it.
yeah.
That was, I am in awe of your first question.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice.
And you didn't even get to hear the good part.
I missed.
Work on that.
I'll have to wait for the next time when you come in, you'll have to do the good part. Do we
Yeah,
have
I-
any
I
comments?
come back and keep reading it.
Okay.
There was plenty here more.
I really like how you had formed the story so far, like seeing it through the eyes of a kindergartner, and like in a neighborhood like that's not always very kind to African Americans. I also like the story. I kept expecting, waiting for this other shoe to drop, but it didn't seem to drop. And then you leave us on that cliffhanger, and I'm like, what the heck is gonna
I know, I was
happen
gonna
next?
start in the middle because I really want you to hear the end, but, yeah, I'll have to.
It made me hungry.
Another reason I ate dinner before I came.
Luca?
So there's a line in this that you wrote that kind of sums it up all for me, and that's footsteps on unfamiliar ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that line was just, that told the whole story. Okay? But I loved the whole perspective of the kids playing together, and there was a sense of innocence and without boundaries to the whole thing. And it showed this innocence in such a dichotomy that's
Right.
going on, which I think was fabulous.
Thank you.
You know, and you built up to it very nicely.
Thank you.
But that one sentence just kind of hooked me the whole way out, right in there.
Thanks.
Well, actually, I realized, I remembered something else I thought about when you were talking the story. The story about these two little girls like being so inseparable, like not even noticing their skin color, made me think back to a story like I had heard on the news one time. And like, it was about these two little boys. They were both in kindergarten, and they decided they both wanted to get the same haircut so they could fool their teacher
I
into thinking
remember
at each
that
other.
too.
It was so cute. They didn't think, they didn't even see the skin color. Maybe at least like it connected back to that story because it does show that like children, like they don't see a skin color,
It's
they just
taught.
see a new friend.
Yeah, it's taught.
And I
Are you
really
still
like
friends
that.
with this little girl?
Yeah, and it's a part of the story. I mean, we were
Okay.
together for our high school reunion.
Okay, yes or no, that's, I don't wanna
Yes.
know the story, I just want the yes or no.
Yes.
I like the juxtaposition of mentioning things like restrictive covenants.
Yes.
Which in Illinois, not in our town, but in, 2 towns over,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, the whole town was set up with those restrictive
Right.
covenants, not just against black people,
Right.
against Jews also.
Jewish, right.
And then there's that, you mention that, and that brings an image to your head, and then you have the children playing.
Right.
And it's such a juxtaposition, because it's like the restrictive covenants and all the feelings that put that into place is kind of hanging over that.
Yes.
And I really like that. It gave a kind of attention to the story.
Oh, good. Okay. So I'm glad I have it in there.
Thank you, it's really good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, and who wants
Is Fred here?
Fred.
Yes, he is. Yeah, Fred, come on.
Fred?
You're up.
The topic of this piece was on redemption. There is roughly a 500-word ceiling on it, which I kind of went over. So we'll go from there. Father and son redemption. My dad was my best friend. He lived by the mantra of work hard, play hard, and the values of each were impressed upon me ever since I can remember. He was a man of deep pride in his work, in his appearance, the presentation of our home, the cars, the boat. Whatever we had, it had to be clean and well cared for. Another mantra, leave it in better condition than when you found it. He was all about family and deep friendships, and along with my mom, raising me to be the best person that I could be. In my early teens, I was given chores to do, like painting the split rail fence that bordered our half-acre plot, or the fence in front of our home, washing cars, getting the boat ready for the weekend, and the like. What was ours needed to look good. I was given no allowance, no payment, only evening chats on the back porch with my dad, often with a beer, sometimes with a cigar. He introduced me to both well before legal age. We would talk about his work, life events, his childhood, and he would always ask how I was. We bonded tightly. I achieved one of his dreams by attending his alma mater, Kent School, boarding school in Kent, Connecticut. While I played ice hockey at Kent, he was the captain his senior year. I never excelled at that sport, partly due to injury. But I learned to row and was fortunate enough to be on a cruise that provided my parents with a reason to attend the world-renowned Henley Royal Regatta in England twice. He was very proud. Then off to college I went, continuing with my successful rowing and barely getting by academically. My grandfather, his dad, passed away in the late summer prior to sophomore year. I returned to school late and suffered academically. Seeing my dad weather the death of his father was a life lesson all of its own. He kept moving, another mantra, never allowing time for grieving. He dealt with not inheriting the family business and a stepmother who did, with whom he had a strained relationship. Through this difficult time, we continued and strengthened our relationship. And then I said I wanted to get married before my senior year. He was shocked, dumbfounded, alarmed. The summer of '75 was like an automobile clutch becoming disengaged and then completely burning out. He challenged my decision every day. I was too young. I hadn't graduated from college. I hadn't gotten out in the world and worked for a few years. I hadn't dated enough. His reaction stunned me. I was hurt, angry, and dismayed. And so was he. We barely maintained our relationship. We had our chats in the back porch, but most of them eventually focused on my pending marriage and why it was so wrong for me. While he was adamantly opposed to my union with Pam, he and my mom met all the requirements of the groom's parents. But knowing him as well as I did, I knew he was just going through the motions with little feeling. His only emotion was that of being distraught, of how blind I was and how stupid it was to get married so early. No job, no work experience. In his eyes, I had failed him. What hurt me the most was that I had used all the values, skills, sensitivities, and knowledge that he had instilled in me to make this decision all on my own. My dad had mentioned to me months earlier that he knew Pam was a special girl, and that he had seen the gleam in our eyes when we looked at each other. Just don't do anything drastic, he said, he cautioned. I had never gone against his guidance in the past. While we theoretically agreed to disagree, he never gave up trying to talk me out of the pending wedding. He finally stopped 2 days before the event when we were with Pam's parents, family, and friends. It took 5 years. In those 5 years, Pam and I moved once. Both of us established solid careers and bought a house. There were arguments with my dad over holidays, vacation time, and the frequency of visits together. 5 years. And then the birth of our son, his grandson. I had kept my faith and belief in all that he had taught me and had tried to implement every bit of it. The previous 6 years between us were tumultuous, but now there was a calming and slow acceptance of me, my wife, and family. When I arrived at his home the night our son was born, I was embraced with an acceptance that I didn't think would be possible, that I never thought I would ever feel again. Career, home, a daughter-in-law whom he now fully received, and now a family. Maybe I hadn't made such a bad mistake after all. Following the birth, there was a corporate move to the Baltimore area with a bigger home and more responsibilities, and another grandson. A few years later, I moved to corporate headquarters with a larger home and national responsibilities. While we never apologized to each other, Dad and I rebuilt our uniquely strong relationship, hindered only by that blemish of agreeing to disagree. I believed in him and what he had instilled in me,
and illustrated that daily, he appreciated it eventually. And then he suddenly passed away. His grandsons still remember Grandpa. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think of him. And my redemption, our redemption.
Anybody have any comments, any questions?
I really liked your story, like, it sounded so personal, which came right from the heart. And it also was really gut-wrenching your points too, that the man you admired so much, who you used all the stuff you learned from him to make the decision of wanting to marry Pam, only to have it get rejected at first. That must have been very difficult. But how, like, you ultimately were able to come back together again. Like, that was very moving before he passed away. And this one question's just still in my brain, I don't know why. Are you and Pam still married?
She passed away a couple years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
That's okay. We had a very, very wonderful, happy marriage.
And do you have just the one son, or is there any more?
I have 3 boys.
Got you.
Yeah, it was all very, very good. Thank you.
Tell them about your grandchildren.
I have pictures of grandchildren too.
You have grandkids too?
Yeah,
That's exciting.
I'm old.
Anybody else have a comment?
I do. Fred, right from the beginning, this story has a touch to it. That everyone, I think, knows somebody in some part of their family that it makes them feel about. And I was, as you were reading the story, I had this impending doom that your father was going to pass before you resolved everything, and I was glad that that didn't happen. I was glad that you resolved it. But it was interesting because I could feel the somberness of it as it was building, you know, and then the relief of when you told us that your dad and yourself had made up. There was one line that you said, perhaps I hadn't made a mistake. And what caught me was, I wonder, the line that came to me was, perhaps I wasn't the one who made the mistake. Okay? Because it seemed like all the way through, you had this other inner vision going, you know, and you know, I realize it's hindsight, but it was an interesting turn that came to my mind when you said that line. I had my dad and I are very close now, but we weren't, and we had very similar,
Personalities?
no, very similar experience that you did, revolving around marriage. He's still alive, and we're good now. But, so for me, that was a very personal story, but I felt it all the way through, so.
Anyone else have a comment? Well, Fred, thank you very, very much. Wonderful story. Well, let's see. Since I like the way she reads, I'm gonna ask Nicole if she will just wait, and I'm gonna ask Fran to come up.
I am Fran Christophe. This piece is called, can you hear me? Okay.
There it is.
Now, it's called The Post-it, and it is something in my writing group. This was a prompt. It was a picture of a hand with a Post-it that said, "Don't forget," and that's what the story evolved from. So I read half of it our last get-together and didn't finish it, so I said that I would continue it.
Yes, please do, I gotta figure out what's going on.
Okay, so, it's about a woman, Audrey, who's a retired textile designer, and she has been recruited again to design for a company, but when she gets there, she's put in the accounting department, and all she does is other people's grunt work. And so she is frustrated, and she's particularly frustrated, gotta see where I left off, by the fact that all she does is people leave Post-its on her computer and desk, and she spends all of her time, instead of working in the design department, she's, which is on a different floor, she's sitting in the accounting department, answering people's post-its. So, she's gotten this one, which really says don't forget, and she really can't remember what she has forgotten and is very frustrated by that. And in the course of the day, more post-its come to her. So this is where I think I left off. Todd was a very nice young man, so I, of course, began to feel guilty about being so snarky with him. He must think I'm a mean old woman. If only someone would come and take the blue and yellow ones. However, even if they did, the mystery of the conversation I had had with Howard, who is the president of the company, would remain unresolved. At least I had stopped crying, though. No sooner had Todd left than another angry male voice shouted at me, "You have my post-it." Again, I jumped, but this time I was a little more prepared. "Excuse me," I said right back to him. "I suggest you lower your voice if you want to speak to me." "I don't want to speak to you. I want my post-it." "Well, by all means, take it. Do you prefer the blue one or the yellow one?" Sarcasm is not necessary. Neither is rudeness. "Why do you have my post-it?" "And who might you be anyway?" "That's not important." "Well, it is to me. I need to know your name when I report you to HR for harassment. And as to why I have your post-it, the color of which you have still not selected, is because someone, the person to whom I presume you entrusted its delivery, put it on the wrong damn computer in the wrong damn cubicle, and maybe even in the wrong damn department. I might just have to have a word with HR myself." "Well, you go right ahead." This shut him up, and it was the first time that day I had felt good. I had said a swear word out loud, but at least it wasn't funny. He said nothing else. He just perused the two post-its and quickly grabbed the blue one. Shoot, that was the one with the actual note on it. I'm still stuck with the mysterious yellow one. As he stormed off, I said, "And your name?" He didn't answer. But Dee Dee, who sat 2 cubicles behind me, chimed up. "He's Bob Wallace from purchasing." He stopped for a moment, gave her a dirty look, then continued storming out of the department. Asshole, I thought. Thank you, Dee Dee, and for the first time since I had started, I didn't feel so bad about being stuck in the accounting department. I actually had friends who had my back, even if they were the living dead. Everyone tittered and clapped their hands quietly. I tried to get back to the actual work I had to do that day when there was another timid knock on the side of my cubicle. Unusual. Yes, I looked up to see Todd again, wanting to get my attention, but also just a little afraid of coming too close to the mean old woman, and yet another post-it in his hand. I sighed, but was determined to be nicer to him this time. "Yes, Todd, do you have something else for me?" "Well, yes," and he handed me a green post-it. It read, "Please come down to the 34th floor and meet Mr. Klein at 2:30 in his office tomorrow afternoon." It had yesterday's date on it and was signed by his secretary assistant, Becky Klein, his niece. Oh shit, it's almost 2:30 now. Why am I just getting this now, Todd, and why a post-it? Why didn't I get an email? I'm sorry, Audrey, you weren't here yesterday. And he paused, his face turning red. And what? Well, the mainframe went down yesterday afternoon, and no one could send or receive emails for the rest of the day. Anyone who needed to get a message to someone wrote it on a post-it and brought it to the mailroom. There were so many of them, and Ricky, the new boy in the mailroom, who doesn't know everybody or all the departments, was given quite a few. He delivered a lot of them to the wrong person. That yellow one is not for you, so I'll just take it if that's okay. I'm sorry for the confusion. I was so happy to discover that I was not on the cusp of dementia. that I didn't have time to think about or worry about why I was being summoned to Howard's office or the fact that I was almost late. That's okay, Todd. These things happen. Well, they don't really, but still, it's okay. And you have the yellow post-it with my blessings. The bizarre happenings of today were now becoming a bit clearer. Instead of waiting for the elevator, which would in all probability have made me late, I took the exit stairs. They were a long way from my cubicle, but I was still able to arrive at Howard's office, which was posh compared to the boring and decidedly plain accounting department at exactly 2:30. Becky looked up at me from her desk and said, "Hello, Audrey, you can go right in. Thank you." Howard was on the phone but motioned for me to sit down in one of the two chairs and that sat in front of his desk. The high of getting rid of the yellow post-it was beginning to wear off. My nerves began to kick in and my mouth go dry. I felt like a kid who had been called to the principal's office and was waiting to find out what I had done wrong. "Hi again," he said when he was off the phone. "How was your oatmeal this morning?" Maybe this won't be too bad after all, I thought, and I relaxed just a little. He's at least smiling, I thought. "I know this hasn't been a very productive time for you these last few months, and I apologize. We hired you to replace George Stevens' assistant, Jane McLeod, who wanted to retire, but that didn't happen because she changed her mind and asked to stay on for a couple of months. We had just hired you. George begged us to let her stay, and we couldn't say no. He also said that she would be able to mentor you and would make your transition easier. Well, that didn't happen, I thought to myself, but didn't say out loud. I met her once, we shook hands, and that was the extent of my monitoring. As it turned out, both she and George decided to retire together and gave us a month's notice. Then there was a problem with George's air conditioning, which had to be repaired. And here we are. Almost 3 months later. What this means, my dear, is that you are now going to be head of the wallpaper division of ARI for RLM. You will be in charge of all development and production of wallpaper collections. Oh my God, I sat there stunned. When I finally got my voice, I thanked him profusely. Believe it or not, we didn't hire you to sit in the accounting department and do grunt work, even though it may have seemed like it. We are smarter than that. I thanked him again and tried to pay attention to what he was saying. This would mean a move to the 34th floor, more money, a better chair, and no more fucking Post-its. Would you like to see your new office, Audrey? Absolutely. Howard walked out and told his assistant he'd be right back. He was just showing me his new office. Congratulations, she said cheerfully. I think I thanked her and then followed him and followed dutifully behind him. Yes, I was finally in the design department and people actually said hello and welcomed me as I passed. I was thrilled. When I reached the door, I saw Todd and a couple of other men who had collected all of my things and were busily trying to put everything away for me. I hope you like it, Audrey, and we'll have a meeting first thing tomorrow morning to go over all your responsibilities and catch you up on where we are with the fall collections. I can't thank you enough, Howard. We all hope you'll be happy. Okay, I'm almost done. We all hope you'll be happy and are confident you'll do a great job. He left. Antoinette and Victoria came over next with a lovely bouquet of flowers in a vase for my desk. Welcome to the design department. Sorry we couldn't talk to you this morning. We were all sworn to secrecy. Howard wanted it to be a surprise. Well, as it is, Todd beamed as he finished unwrapping a brand new office chair. Do you like your new office? I love it, and thank you so much for bringing everything over for me. Well, it was easy enough. You didn't have that much stuff. True, I mused. And the yellow Post-it, he then added, it was meant for me. I wasn't supposed to forget that we were moving you today. When you went to talk to Howard, it was supposed to be a surprise. That was it. I was speechless and so relieved I couldn't seem to stop smiling and prayed I wouldn't start crying. thank you again, Todd, and I'm sorry I snapped at you earlier. Oh, it's okay. Let me know if you need anything else, and here, this is for your new office. With that, he handed me an unopened package of yellow, pink, blue, and green Post-its. You're the one who's going to be needing them now.
That was wonderful. I'm glad you finished. I'm really glad you gave us the answer story. I love that.
Thank you.
Anybody have any comments for Fran?
Yes.
I like that. I unfortunately I went to the restroom, so I missed part of it. But from what I did hear, it sounds like that character who was like really complaining about everything like not going her way. She finally got like the upgrade she deserved.
Yes, she
Like,
did. She was
And I'm very
happy.
glad about that. Because let's face it, who wants to stay down in the buck all the time? That's not fun. But I do like how like you really build up to it, how like it really shows like the big change when she got that. Was it a promotion?
Well, it was sort of what she was really hired for, and actually even she got more. She was supposed to be an assistant, and she ended up getting the director.
Oh,
So-
snap.
So it's actually
Really a
more than she
promotion.
thought. Yes.
When does this take place? Is this like now, during this time?
Well,
Could be whenever you want it to be.
Right. And
No,
I
listen,
don't, I
but
didn't
I'm
have
trying,
it.
please, there's a
But
reason I'm
basically,
asking.
but basically now, yes.
Now, okay, so the only comment I have on this is, so you use the word mainframe, and the terminology is servers now.
Oh, okay.
I'm just so, because somebody's gonna correct you someday.
Okay, that's fine. When I was there, it was a mainframe.
Me too, so, yes, it used to be mainframes, but that's why I asked it, you know.
All right, server, okay.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be, I'm just trying to, I just don't want you to have anybody come back with feedback on
That's
that
quite all
either.
right, quite all right.
Otherwise, what I really liked about it is, it seems like such a common circumstance, and you're able to just blow the whole thing up into something that's really kind of cool, and everybody can relate to the frustration of the whole thing, and I really like that.
Thank you, thank you.
And she gets her own Post-it note.
Yeah, she gets her own post-it.
That was great.
Very good. Wonderful. Thank you, Jess. Okay, Nicole, you are the last one I have, and I love the way you read, so come on up.
Sorry. Hi everybody, for those of you who don't know me, I am Nicole Pagala, and the last time I was here was my first time, and I read part of a book I'm writing called Riddleton Death Vision. And I'm going to be picking up where I left off last time. For those of you who weren't here, this is what happened. Basically, the main character, a 16-year-old girl named Quinn Fleming, she's at a senior party run by the most popular guy in town, Corey Ethan Longwood, and she gets harassed by a bitchy girl because Quinn is not only is she a junior, she also wasn't dressed like everyone else. But she was defended by Corey's best friend, Lucian Luce Rook, and he pretty much escorted the chick out. And then he and Quinn like ended like conversation, like talking basically about like how like they don't need to have like fit the mold, they don't need to wear the straight jackets of fashion in order to like be their own selves. And it shows that there's a bit of a connection with them. And that's where I'm picking up right now with this line. I chuckled. Oh yeah, that same black attire and leather jacket has everyone running. They're the fashion boys, that is. Screw you, Lou said through a laugh. Before our playful banter could continue, a high-pitched squeal rang through our ears. Next thing I knew, a familiar blonde girl in a lilac mini dress crashed into me, squishing my body into a hug. It was my senior girlfriend, Nayla Gorski. Quinn, you're here! You're like actually here! Nayla cried excitedly. I let out a surprised chuckle. Yeah, I am. And so are you. Nayla pulled back and put an arm around Luce's shoulder. Of course! I go where my man goes. Right, Lucy? Yep. For better or for worse. Nayla giggled, her bright blue eyes shining. Oh, Lucy, you crack me up. She pressed a kiss to Luce's cheek, making him smile shyly. Nate, cut it out. You're embarrassing me. And for those of you who don't know, Luce, his style is gothic punk. Like, gothic biker, pretty much. Is that so? Then better brace for humiliation! Nayla pounced on him, practically knocking Luce over as they kissed. I averted my eyes from the makeout, slightly uncomfortable. I was glad the two were in love, but it's awkward watching your friends while they kiss. When Nayla finally broke away, Luce gently pushed her off. Okay, babe, enough. I need to find Cor before he loses his mind drinking that sketchy fruit punch. Mind keeping Flem company while I'm gone? Of course not! I've been wanting to catch up with Quinn anyway. Go find our wild host. We'll be fine. Luce shot them a thumbs up and disappeared into the mob that had reformed in the kitchen. Without missing a beat, Nayla grabbed my hand and pulled me into Corey's piano room, a more private parlor room. On the first floor with the big French doors. When the doors were closed, Nayla turned to me, an excited look in her eyes. OMG, Winnie, I've been honestly so glad you're here. I feel like we have almost never seen each other anymore. Nayla pouted. I gave a small smile as I sat on one of the pale pink couches. Well, you do take different classes than me and Billy, Nayla, and we're not exactly in the same clubs. Besides, a little distance is good between friends. It means we'll never run out of conversation. I joked, which made Nayla giggle. Speaking of Billy, do you know where she is? I thought she was going to be here. Billy was my best friend and Nayla's younger stepsister. Nayla's dad, Leon Gorski, married Billy's mom, Aliyah Fletcher, when Billy was 5 and Nayla was 6. So despite having different last names, the two were raised as sisters. They did almost everything together after that, which is part of the reason I ended up befriending Nayla. Despite being older, the latter usually hung around Billy like an eager puppy, wanting to do whatever she was doing. But I guess that wasn't the case tonight. Nayla groaned as she plopped on the couch beside me. She was supposed to, but then she was asked to babysit Izzy in the cooking quiz last minute, and you know how Billy is with money. Never has enough green stuff for college, she complained. Honestly, what's so great about college anyway? You go to some super executive place just to screw around for 4 years, and all you get to show for it is a mountain of debt. Nayla humped. Seems like a waste of time to me. Hence why I'm avoiding the hassle altogether. I arched an eyebrow. Oh? Then what are you going to do after high school? Nayla flashed her famous white-toothed grin. Oh, I've got a plan. But first, I have exciting news to share. Come close. I scooched closer to her. Closer! I scooched until I was beside her. Closer! Since I couldn't scooch any further, I leaned in. When I was inches from her face, Nayla whispered, Lucy and I are gonna get married! Nayla squealed energetically, clapping her hands as she did. I leaned back, a little overwhelmed by her sudden announcement. Wait. Luce already asked you? Oh, he doesn't know yet. I looked at her in disbelief. What do you mean he doesn't know yet? Isn't marriage a two-person deal? Yeah, but I don't mean get married right now. I mean after we graduate, and I do mean right after. I think I'm doing a summer wedding at the end of June, or the start of July at the latest. Ooh, or even a wedding on the 4th of July! Now that really sparks some fireworks! They listened zealously. But I refuse to have an August wedding. The humidity would totally ruin my hair. Anyway, after the wedding and a summer honeymoon, I moved to the NYC in September to become a serious actress. And this could either move there with me or work at either my dad's financial firm or one of his family's businesses until I make it big. It's like a totally foolproof plan. I stared at Nayla, speechless for a long moment. Nay? I hate to be the downer about this foolproof plan, but you do know Luce is going to college, right? I asked tentatively. I expected Nayla to freeze in shock at the revelation, or at least stop her babbling to actually think. But she just scoffed. Yeah, to meet up at community college, Nayla judged considerately. That's like not even a state school, much less an accredited one. I was completely shell-shocked by her brutal truth. For someone who just said she wanted to marry Luce, you'd think she would consider Luce's perspective, or at least try to find a way to accommodate both of their goals. But she didn't. For Nayla, it was her way or no way. But friend or not, I wasn't about to let her dismiss Luce's ambition for her ticking time bomb of a life plan. It just required the right phrasing to prevent a diva tantrum explosion and it stood. Community colleges are accredited, Nayla. And he's just going there for his freshman year. Then he's going to transfer somewhere else. That's what my dad did, I revealed. Besides, even if Luce doesn't go to college, there's no way he'd stay in Riddleton. He hates it here. I had expected my points, phrased with care or not, to trigger some kind of defensive reaction from Nayla. But again, she just scoffed. Quinny, please. Lucy is my boyfriend, member. We've been in the same class since we were in preschool. We grew up together, alongside Corey. And you? No offense, but you only came into Lucy's orbit 2 years ago. So I think I know him a little better than you do. And he'll definitely support me in my vision. Besides, where else are you gonna find someone as beautiful and influential as moi? Nowheres. Suddenly, Nail's eyes lit up with remembrance. Oh, I want to surprise Lucy with a Christmas proposal, so don't say anything, okay? It's October right now. I couldn't believe the delusional, entitled bullshit I was hearing. Naila was judging Luz for wanting to advance his education, yet she saw no problem in getting married right out of high school and moving to New York City without a steady job or a solid source of income. God, even Izzy, her 9-year-old half-sister, could probably tell us what a mess in the making. And it was no wonder Billy, Naila's dad, and Billy's mom worried about her constantly. Suddenly, the piano room's French door swung open. It was Luz, who quickly stepped off to the left side as my boyfriend appeared in the doorway, spreading light into the socially darkening room. How much time do I have left?
About a minute.
I may just leave it there, and you will find out next month who the boyfriend is. Thank you.
Do we have any comments from Cole?
It makes me tired just listening to that.
The plan? Or me talking about the plan?
No, just, it's, I think you really captured the age of your characters, and as someone who is half a century or more beyond that, but I think you totally created, I'm back there again, so, yeah, good job.
Thank you so much.
I have to agree with her, and, being that same half century, maybe even longer, it's like, there's a lot of like, okay, I want these teenagers to go away. But you carry the story well with the dialogue, so very well done.
I'm glad you think so. I always like the dialogue a lot.
Yeah,
Anyone else have anything to say? Like, Izzy?
Yeah, great dialogue. And the depiction of high school girls. And you really drag us along. And your reading, of course, is the dialogue of the screen.
Yeah, Naila's out there.
And who else? You said you know.
Jesse?
I sat here visualizing a TV show, like, I'm just like, I could, your
Same.
dialogue, everything,
Yeah.
description, it was like I was watching a sitcom on TV about teenagers.
Yeah, minus the actual screen part.
It was wonderful.
I'm glad you think so, and I would not be against this becoming a TV show, but I kind of want to make it into a book first, then the show, and maybe a movie. Yes?
May I ask how old you are?
Okay, put it this way. How old do you think I am?
I think you're a little beyond high school.
You're not wrong about that.
22.
Close. 24.
24.
Does it
I don't
show?
even know what 24 looks
Well,
like.
no, I
Can't
think
remember
you read
24.
from experience.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I think you read from experience. It hasn't been that long.
Well,
I don't
actually,
think I could write a good story about my high school. Yeah.
I didn't know anyone about like the acting, like wanting to go to New York to do acting, but I was a really big actor when I was in high school. I loved doing the shows there. I took my love for that into Naila's character, at least in this part, and then added it to like something I saw in one of the shows that were about the high schoolers, like who ended up getting changed by trauma. Like I figured that'd be a really good way to do this. Like this is the calm before the storm, and then everything goes to shit. Excuse my language.
Anyone else have a comment?
Do you have anything you want to say?
Well, I love it, and I can't wait to hear the rest of it. Thank you very much, Nicole, and now, without further ado.
Do we have time?
Oh, yes, I have, I always have time.
There's 15
Darryl,
minutes
you know
left.
that.
Okay. This is the prologue of a novel, a time travel novel about seniors that go back into the past and investigate mysteries. I'm problems of being short. I've written 2 books that are out. This is going to be the 3rd one, and it begins with a prologue.
New York City, June 1911.
You spelled that last name wrong.
Danella made sure her hands were clean before picking up the delicate white fabric. A single smudge of dirt, the tiniest bit of soot, could ruin the white material or the pale silk thread she had been using for the embroidery. She could scarcely believe that she had this room all to herself. What a miracle it was. How different than every other place she had worked. She recalled those other rooms where she had plied her needle and earned her keep. As a child, she had worked in the crowded tenement rooms with her family. Home was where she worked. Where she worked was home. They were indistinguishable. She and Mama, Zieta Martina, her cousins and the boarders would gather around a table in the tiny parlor, using the meager light from the single window that looked out on the back of the building. She had been started on buttons and hems for men's shirts, women's waists, skirts, dresses. For 8, 10, 12 hours a day, the table in the parlor and the smaller table in the kitchen were crowded with piles of partially constructed clothing. In the remaining hours of the day, Mama would clear the tables so she could cook, so everyone could sit and eat, so water could fill the wash tub under the counter, so they could bathe on Saturday and do laundry on Monday, so space could be made for her to sleep and mats could be put down when boarders shared the space. When she was 14, she had started work in the factory. Every day she would climb to the 9th floor, circling round and round up the staircase. On lucky days, she might get a ride in the Green Street freight elevator if a delivery came early, just as she arrived at the door, or if the boy operating the elevator was in the mood to joke with the girls and let them crowd in and rise up in the car. There were other elevators around the corner on Washington Place, but those were reserved for the salesmen and the bosses that worked up on the 10th floor. The factory had felt different than her work at the table at home, but the same too. It was different because of the large windows looking out on the streets below, the high ceilings, the sewing machines powered by the wonder of electricity instead of by foot pedals. But some things were the same. The room in the factory was huge, but still crowded, just as the kitchen had been crowded. It had to be. The tables that held the sewing machines were long, some of them 75 feet long, placed in rows. They held 15 machines on each side. So many tables, 8 of them, sitting in parallel rows. Her place was in row 6, 11 seats in. She did the math in her head, although she didn't really need to. She knew there had been 240 girls and women that climbed the stairs to the 9th floor 6 days a week and were ready when the bell rang and the electricity was turned on to the machines and the workday began. 240 began together under the watchful eyes of the supervisor, easing the fabric into the machines at the same moment. It was rare for anyone to be late. 5 minutes late and you lost your wages for the day. You lost half your wages for the day. It was one of the rules. There were a lot of rules. No talking, no singing, a fine to pay if you spent too long in the restroom. Often you were followed to the restroom to make sure you weren't stealing buttons or trim or fabric. There were rental charges to pay for needles, thread, use of the sewing machine, use of the electricity that ran the machine, use of a space in the cloakroom, and use of the chair you sat on. It was the no talking rule that had bothered Danella the most. Talking was breathing, talking was living. One way the bosses tried to enforce the rule was by putting the Italian girls like her next to girls from Russia. That way there would be no shared language, or so they thought. They would have known better if they had attended to what happened after Rosie had been assigned to the seat next to Danella. The two girls had glanced at each other as the supervisor directed her to sit. Danella couldn't keep a smile from appearing on her face. Rosie's answering smile had been all that was needed to begin their friendship. And after that, the no-talking rule was easy to get around despite the stern decrees of the bosses, despite their different languages. Rosie had the best face in the world, Danella thought, a face that could communicate even without words. A pretty face, but so much more. The face of a mimic, an actress. She could express anything and everything with that face. A roll of her eyes, the way she raised her eyebrows, wrinkled her nose. When she puffed out her cheeks and managed to frown, she looked so much like the supervisor that Danella had to bow her head and lean closer to her machine to muffle her laughter. After that, when the workday was over, or before it began, or at lunch, or in furtive whispers, when they were sure the supervisor wasn't looking, they began to talk. Danella pointed to herself and recited her name, then pointed to other things, naming each in Italian, English too if she knew the word. She had learned a fair amount of English growing up in the city, playing with the other children in the streets. She had learned so much more when she started in the factory. Hand, fingers, needle, thread. Rosie had nodded in comprehension, then repeated the movements, quickly touching each item in the same list and saying the word in her language that Danella knew was called Yiddish. Sometimes Roseanne, who sat across from them, would join in helping with the English words. Roseanne was an American, born right here in New York City. It was curious how so many of the women and girls had the name Rose, Danella thought. Rose or some variation of it. Rosa, Rosie, Rosaria, Roseanne, Rosemary. Perhaps it was that the names seemed to suit so many. They were all so young, like flowers newly blooming. Her own name, Danella, meant lady, which was all right, she supposed. Although she had never felt much like a lady when she was growing up. Not a fine lady who wore beautiful clothes, clean clothes, and lived in a big, beautiful, clean home and didn't need to go down narrow flights of tenement stairs to visit the privy in the courtyard. Ladies had a fine education. Ladies went to the theater. Some could draw or play the piano. Ladies took the steam-powered shovel all the way north to 34th Street to shop at the Palace that was Macy's at Herald Square. And ladies, some ladies at least, went to college. That was something she hadn't known about until the strike occurred. She had seen some of them, met them in the tumultuous months when the women and girls who sewed in the factories walked out to protest the miserable conditions they faced every day at work. The working girls had been joined in the picket lines by the ones the newspapers called college girls. She had heard some of the men deriding them for that, saying it wasn't proper to march with the working girls, saying it was unladylike. Unconsciously, Danella shrugged as if she were back at that time, discussing the matter with Rosie. What does any man know about what it means to be a lady? No talking, no singing, no laughing. Danella was grateful beyond measure that she was no longer bound by such rules. She had her own set of rooms now, a bedchamber and a sitting room where she could sew or read or just gaze out the window and watch the clouds float by. It was thanks to the kindness of Constance, one of those college girls. She was a girl who had chosen life on the Lower East Side when she could have returned to her family's fancy mansion, a girl who had linked arms with Rosie and her, who had befriended them and had taken her in after what happened at the factory. Danella began to hum and turned back to the embroidery. She had completed well over half of the design. The flowers and leaves along the hem of the skirt were complete, and she had started to fill in the next section of the garden. She thought of it that way, a garden she would create from the images in her head. She didn't need a pattern. It was all being done freehand. When she had started the garment, it was as if her hands knew all by themselves where to place the needle and how to complete each stitch. She wondered if Rosie would have liked the design. Danella knew it was good, better than good, but unusual. The embroidered garden so neat at the hem grew wilder, stranger as it rose closer to the waist. Feather stitches curved here and there. Petals and leaves created by satin stitch leaned this way and that as if blown by the wind, as if the plants had decided to take over the neat rows laid out by the gardener and dance their own dance. Would she be able to finish it? She didn't know. Would anyone ever wear it? She didn't know. To look ahead was impossible. To look back seared her soul. Feather stitch, fly stitch, satin stitch, stem stitch, seed stitch. She loved the names of the stitches, so many derived from the parts of flowers, the parts of birds. The old lady who had tutored her in embroidery had taught her each stitch and taught her their names. Knowledge is strength, she had said, and she had been right. Someone who could do this kind of sewing, fine work, elaborate work, could move from the factory, could find employment in an exclusive shop or with a wealthy lady who required a personal dressmaker, could even perhaps begin her own business. Danella completed a twisted knot, part of the disc floret in the center of a daisy. She remembered teaching Rosie the Italian name for flower, then the longer name for bloom, fiori, fioritura. Rosie had set them both laughing as she practiced fioritura, making a different funny face for each syllable of the word. Rosie had had the best face in the world, and then she was gone. Her face was gone, burned away in the fire. Rosie had not jumped like so many of the others, like flowers falling to the pavement below, and she hadn't made it down the elevator. She had been lost somewhere on the 9th floor, perhaps by the cloakroom or near the sewing tables, or behind the locked door. Danella didn't know. It tormented her that she didn't know, that she could only see Rosie's face as a shadow or a dream. Danella knew Rosie wouldn't have wanted her to cry, so she wouldn't cry, and she couldn't cry while she sewed. A drop of water could do as much damage as a smudge of dirt, a bit of soot. She had stopped humming, but made herself start up again. Her head didn't know what to think, what to feel, but with hands that knew all by themselves where to place the needle, she continued to sew.
I'm gonna start this one real quick.
You weren't going anywhere. Anyone have a comment for Betty?
I do.
Question, a comment?
Betty,
He does.
you just brought me back. My mother worked in that factory.
Mm.
She worked for Brooks Brothers as a cuff setter for 15 years. Not with all the fines and things like that. I spent 2 years working there in summers in the shipping department. That is so precise.
In New York City?
No, in New Jersey. Okay, and that was one of the most precise descriptions I've ever heard of the whole thing. I mean, that was incredible. Thank you.
And it's compelling as a prologue.
Yes.
That was just a prologue? I thought this was the middle of the book.
No, that's the prologue.
It was a very good prologue. I liked how you described like a lot of people have like the same name a little bit, the Rosies. And I feel like they all resembled like flowers. And all the thing they did was like basically like part of an animal, part of a flower. And it's really ironic. They're all connected with nature, even though they're in like a factory.
Yeah, the names, those were all the real names of women who did die in the Trident fire.
Oh. Well, I do like also that that even without like being able to speak the same language, she was still able to make friends with people. I thought that was funny. And I still think you don't need to speak the same language in order to be friends.
Yeah.
And of course, your description
I love
of
this public communication.
the embroidery stitches.
Oh my, I thought of my grandmother.
Yes, right?
That was
She was a seamstress and she was an embroiderer, so, yeah.
She was? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to see the building and, the building is still standing where the fire was in New York City.
So, do you do a lot of research for your writing? Because this shows tremendous detail.
Constant research. Even though I'm writing about seniors who travel back in time to investigate things in the past, I want all the history to be accurate, so, yeah, I did do a lot of
And that's
research.
what makes it so compelling, too.
Thank you. I went to the tenement museum also to see what those
Yeah.
tenements were like.
But you can tell, it's so beautifully done.
Yeah.
It's transporting.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I think you really put the time travel story. Because it sounds like if you were taking
You
us all
said
back
that's
in time.
Yeah,
But we'll get there.
I think it goes to show that anybody can do that with their story, like whether it's capturing them with my voices or bringing them back with your descriptions. Like if you're able to do that, anybody's capable of being a writer. And more importantly, getting published.
Hey guys, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Thank you,
but we
thank
have to
you.
get out.
So sorry to keep people